You just lost a six-figure contract because you played it too safe during the final pitch. It happens to thousands of professionals every day, but it ends today. One specific, uncomfortable question shifts the power dynamic in any high stakes negotiation immediately. Most people wait for permission to be heard, but you are about to command the room without asking. By deploying this exact script, you turn a standard negotiation into a masterclass in influence. It is the tactical edge that successful negotiators use, but almost no one documents. So find a quiet space, get comfortable, and let's get into the mechanics of high value communication. Consider the story of Elena, a senior product lead at a tech firm based in San Francisco. For 3 years, she watched colleagues with less experience get promoted, move into leadership, and dictate project roadmaps. She thought her hard work would speak for itself. She stayed late. She hit every milestone. She delivered reports that were technically perfect. But in every meeting, she stayed in the background, offering support rather than leadership. She wasn't having the conversation. She was waiting to be noticed. The reality is that silence is rarely interpreted as humility. In a corporate environment, silence is often interpreted as a lack of conviction. Elena finally realized her mistake when her mentor, a former VP at a major financial institution, looked at her during a private session and said, "You are the best kept secret in the building." That was the moment she stopped asking and started asserting. By the end of this, you will have that same blueprint. The first phase of this transformation is what I call the alignment audit. This is your easy win, and you can start doing this in the next 60 minutes. Most people jump into conversations without knowing exactly what the other person values. They start with their own agenda, which is the fastest way to get ignored. Before you initiate any crucial discussion, you need to identify the specific pain point the person across from you is trying to solve. If you are talking to your boss, don't frame your request around your career goals. Frame it around the quarterly revenue targets they are terrified of missing. Think about the study published by the Journal of Applied Psychology in 2022. It analyzed over 500 workplace negotiations and found that participants who spent the first 3 minutes of a conversation actively mirroring the priorities of their counterparts saw a 40% increase in the likelihood of a positive outcome. This isn't manipulation. It is simply showing that you understand their world before you ask them to join yours. And you open by saying, "I've been looking at our Q3 projections and I see where we are losing momentum. You aren't just an employee anymore. You are a partner in their success. Start here." It builds immediate trust and it shifts the power dynamic from adversarial to collaborative before you even get to your point. Now, here is where things get interesting. Once you have established that alignment, you move to the second phase, the strategic pivot. This is where most people falter. They get too nervous and start rambling, or they get too aggressive and trigger a defensive reaction. The strategy here is to use what I call the bridge and reveal technique. You bridge the gap between their goal and your objective, then reveal your solution as the missing link. Consider a scenario where you are pushing for a budget increase for your team. Instead of saying, "I need 10% more for my department," you pivot. You say, "Given that our primary objective for this year is to reduce churn by 15%, we have analyzed the current tooling limitations. The additional 10% in budget isn't just an expense. It is the exact amount required to automate the client feedback loop that is currently holding us back from hitting that churn target." See the difference? You are no longer asking for money. You are presenting a tactical investment that prevents their failure. This works because it reframes the conversation around shared survival. My friend Marcus used this exact method to secure a $50,000 research grant for his design team. He didn't focus on the tools he wanted. He focused on the risk the executive leadership was taking if they didn't modernize their output. It took him 2 meetings to get the approval, whereas his team had been lobbying for 18 months with zero progress. If you're finding this helpful, please hit subscribe. I drop deep dives like this every single week. If this is clicking for you, a quick subscribe helps me keep making these videos for you. All right, now for the one I've been saving. This is the most effective tool in the repertoire, and it is the reason why some people seem to have a magnetic ability to steer the course of any room they walk into. It is called the silence as leverage tactic. Most people have an absolute phobia of dead air. When they ask a question or make a demand, they feel an uncontrollable urge to fill the silence that follows because they perceive it as awkward or uncomfortable. The master negotiator does the exact opposite. After you have laid out your case, after you have clearly linked your request to their highest priority and demonstrated the ROI, you stop talking. You simply look at them and wait. It feels like an eternity. Your internal brain will scream at you to start explaining, to apologize, or to soften the blow. Do not do it. When you sit in that silence, you are essentially signaling that you are completely comfortable with the value you have just delivered. You are waiting for them to process it. 9 times out of 10, the other person will feel compelled to fill the void, and they will almost always do so by conceding to your point or asking how to move forward. A study conducted by Harvard University researchers in 2021 revealed that in high stakes negotiations, the person who speaks first after a major offer is made as significantly more likely to concede ground. By holding the silence, you are essentially forcing the other person to be the one who breaks. Let that sink in for a second. You're not being rude, you are being intentional. You are giving them the respect of space, which forces them to take your position seriously. Most people never try this. They rush to minimize the tension. The moment you decide that tension is just a byproduct of a serious conversation rather than something to be avoided, you gain an immense amount of control over the interaction. It changes the way you look at every meeting from here on out. When you stop fearing the pause, you start owning the outcome. It is a subtle shift, but it is the difference between being a participant and being the architect of the conversation. So there you go. Three distinct ways to master the most important conversation of your career. We started with the alignment audit, which gets you in the room. We moved into the strategic pivot, which earns you the leverage. And finally, we covered the silence as leverage technique, which closes the deal. That last one alone is enough to change your trajectory in any boardroom. Once you master it, you'll never look at a high stakes meeting the same way again. If you got value from this, share it with someone who is currently trying to level up their career. And make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss the next deep dive. I have something in the works for next week that will completely change how you view your daily productivity habits. You won't want to miss it. Stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next one.